Okay, got a new thing that Crew is doing that I wanted to show y'all about. I did a quick little video. It's a little bit hard to hear. About a week ago about how to do the cash deposits thing with Crew. That's not a very new feature, but it's very cool. A lot of banks have had like a check deposit feature, which Crew also has now as well. And then, depending on your bank, the cash deposit features go to that bank's brick and mortar location or go to an ATM of that bank's own branded ATMs or whatever and deposit cash. But if you don't have that, then what do you do with cash, right? And so they have a really cool feature of how to deposit cash at a bunch of places around almost anywhere where you live. So anyway, go check that video out if you haven't seen it. And a little bit hard to hear again, but you'll see how it works. This is a feature that they're doing called Bill Reserve. To my knowledge, they're still like tinkering with it a little bit. I don't think anything significant will change. So hopefully the version I'm showing you today is how it will look and how it'll act and everything like that. Okay, I have one more insert aside for you. Well, actually, this is the first one you're seeing because the first one I filmed happens later in the video. It's getting confusing. We're kind of ending up in a Marvel multiverse situation here. But this feature, I was told, is in beta and will stay in beta for a little bit longer that I'll be talking about in this video. But it doesn't mean that the whole video is all for naught because the beta is public. You can join it right now. So if you want to see the things I'm talking about in this, if you're not already in the beta and you don't already see the Bill Reserve feature, then you can go to on the main screen. You can go to menu at the bottom right, settings, scroll all the way to the bottom and say include me in other in new features or features like that. And then you'll have to restart the app, but then you'll see Bill Reserve and any other things that are like beta testing type of features in the future. And you can go from there. So needed to say that quickly so that once you see what else I'm talking about in the video, you're not confused because you don't have that on your app, something like that. Okay, back to the video. Thank you. We've all had the problem with any bank account where you want to make sure there's a difference between the bills you have coming in that are like definite. Either the amounts are always the same for things that really recur, they stay the same, or they don't stay the same, but they're close. But more importantly than the amount, it's just that these things are coming. This charge is going to happen every single month, no matter what. I'm going to have my mortgage or my rent. I'm going to have my car payment. I'm going to have my utilities, the subscription, that thing. And the feeling of if you have a dumb bank account, which is what I like to call every other bank account other than Crew, then you just see this big pot of money and it's showing you a number on your bank account when you log in, but it's hard to know what is the amount you really have available to spend. So depending on how you've already used Crew, you've already probably figured out some way to account for bills and have different pockets for each bill, or maybe you have them all in one pocket, and then you have your spending pockets. So I come from a different platform called Cube, where I used to use a lot, and they had bill cubes. So they were separate from your spending. It's an important thing to make sure our bills are taken care of before we figure out what we could spend on eating out in groceries and coffee shops and all that kind of stuff. A lot of us have already figured out a way to do that with Crew, but they found a new way that I think for most people is going to be super helpful and way easier, especially if you're super new to Crew. And so I want to show you guys this. Before I get into that, I wanted to say that I'm now what's called an affiliate with Crew. And so first and foremost, I'm a user. But if you use the code that I have in my description, it gives you a bonus APR for the first 3 months of being a user, but it also gives me a bonus as well. And so I wanted to make sure I'd tell you guys that. But my videos are all my opinions, my own feelings, my own thoughts. And y'all are seeing it at the same time that Crew sees it and all that kind of stuff. I really only like to do this stuff because I'm a budget nerd and user myself. And so that is my motivation enough. But getting a kickback is super helpful and makes it even more fun. I'm a huge fan of Crew, but what you hear me say will be my own thoughts. Just wanted to get that out of the way before we begin and be transparent with y'all about all that. This feature is very exciting to me, and I'm still messing with it myself. So here's what I've done. You can see my screen here. I've got, let's open the Crew app here and get started. So we open it. you will see down kind of in the bottom section, this area is smart banking kind of stuff, and that's where your automations are and your autopilot stuff, the pocket assignment stuff, and the virtual cards stuff. There's now going to be a section called bill reserve at the top. And so if you click on that, it's going to take you to this walkthrough thing about how to get this set up. And so it kind of has an automatic setup feature, and then you can customize it later. So don't worry if the things it shows you are not exactly correct, because it's trying to help you get started, and then you can customize it in great detail like you're used to with everything with Crew. You can get as complicated as you'd like to. So let me show you all this. So this is it looking at my transactions since I've been on Crew, which has been about 3 or 4 months now. And it's trying to determine some things that are bills that seem to be very, recurring in the same amount, very predictable amounts. Not all bills are like that, but these are the ones that it's able to pick up on quickly. So this is very true, got Audible, ChatGPT Plus, which I'm not sure if I'm going to keep. We'll see if I use it enough. Atmos, that's our gas company. Visible is our phone bill. Apple is our iCloud stuff, our Russian mutuals, and life insurance. Goodleap is our solar panels. This one's a Toyota thing at the bottom. So what's going on here is it's picking up all the monthly ones. Now, for many of us, we have other bills that aren't just monthly, right? You might have something that's quarterly, something that's every 6 months if you're like your car insurance, or something annual. So we'll get to that in a little bit. But for now, I'm going to say all of these are correct. I'm just going to leave them there for the sake of it. These are actually bills. It's just that it's just not catching all of my bills yet because I have some that are kind of weird, timing and stuff like that. But it's picking up on the right stuff. Like these are all actually bills I have. And so we'll keep going from there. Let's see. So what it does here is now asking things like, how often would you want to put this money into your bill's pocket? So what it's going to do is it's going to intelligently take the amount from all those bills that it's picked up on and understand how much needs to be in this bill's pocket, which is going to be kind of like a big pocket that's a little more smart, a little complicated, a little bit more math going on in the background than a regular pocket. And it's going to be thinking about how much needs to be in there at any given time for bills that are coming up and when they are due. What day of the month do these bills seem to happen? And so I'm, just for the sake of this right now, I'm going to say once a month because all of those bills I put in there are monthly so far. So that's how often I wanted to add money to that pocket. And let's go ahead and say the first. I know I have at least one bill that's really early in the month, not just my mortgage or whatever, but I have a couple of the bills that are like really early. Like I think the Visible wireless one is on the first. And then add money from. I use this kind of system I set up that I showed in a different video where I have all my money in an unallocated pocket. And so we'll go from there and say continue. One thing I didn't think about on this setting actually here is that because I like to fill my pockets on the 1st and the 15th, that's saying like twice a month for moving money into the bill reserve would probably be my preferred. So that's probably what I'll go change, but I didn't think about that at the time until I was watching and editing it. So anyway, something to think about. When do you get paid? How often would you like money to be pulled over into bill reserve? And it'll do that on the schedule that you prefer. It's kind of weird for us. I get paid once a month. My wife gets paid every other week. So, just to kind of think about what makes the most sense for your pay cycle. Okay, bye. And so it's going to basically add up all of these. If one of these was incorrect, you could uncheck it, of course. It's going to add up all these things, and it's going to take that amount and make sure that that amount is there every single month. So it's saying right now, it's noticing what bills are left for the rest of this month, I'm guessing. And so it's going to begin with that balance that you see there, $135. And then saying continue will basically move that over. And this is one of those things that once you get it fine-tuned, I shouldn't say fine-tuned, it's just going to be making sure you've not forgotten a bill, that you've put it in accurately, like how often it happens, what the amount is, that it would kind of take this out of something you have to think about. You wouldn't have to go consciously put money in. Some nice confetti there. you would have to consciously go put money into that. You could just let Crew do that for you, and make sure you go adjust it if a bill changes its amount. So here, what I'm doing here is clicking. You can see that it shows this calendar thing right there when things are due, showing the next contribution on February 1st to get ahead for the bills that are coming up. And it's showing at the bottom there all the bills that we've added so far. But then right here, once you get into the screen, you can just say new bill and add a custom one that you want to include. And so you could search through your transactions and find one that is linked to. So that'd be kind of helpful, because then you wouldn't have to put it on the information manually. So you could just scroll through and do that if you wanted to, if you knew of one that was recent, or you could search for it yourself. One of the ones I wanted to add, just to show and kind of see how it works for something that's not monthly, is to do my Amazon Prime membership. And so I'm going to do that where, I don't know, let's see. Oh yeah, actually first I'm going to do this. I see here my Frontier Communications, that's my internet. So that was monthly. It missed that one somehow, but it's not a big deal. It's probably because it changed a little bit. And so I clicked on that one and tapped on it, and it's showing me this information here. It's got the right thing. It's got the right amount. That is correct. And when the next time it happens, it's picked up on around what day it happens. So I've added that one now. So now it's going to be accounting for that one. You can see the amount for the next contribution on February 1st just went up, just to make sure that it has enough in the bill pocket to cover that bill. And then I'm going to create a custom one. Let's see. What's something? I'm ready for my Amazon Prime annual would be the right thing to do, I think, next. Just to see how that works. So I want to say it's around $119, but I haven't checked that in a little while, and I think it may have gone up. But what's nice about that is it does let you adjust the range of what a bill could be. So for something like utilities that changes a little bit, you could put a range that it's expecting to need to use. So if we say once a year is when this happens, ours is in August, somewhere around there. And it hasn't happened since I've been on. So I'm going to just type in Amazon Prime in the contains field, because that, I think it does say that at least in the transaction. And then I'm going to say at least $119, maybe as much as $135. Could have gone and looked up what it costs now, but something around there. And so now it'll be ready once I get closer to August to be ready to pay that. And for things too, like you saw there, that when I was putting in the frequency of how often it happens, there are things that happen in other weirder frequencies, like twice a year. That's like how our car insurance is. It happens every 6 months. You got every week, every 2 weeks, once a month, every 3 months, twice a year, once a year. That pretty much hits every bill. In fact, I think I have one that is an every 3 months thing for our pest control stuff. So you can go through, and it should give you a good start by it picking up on what transactions it's noticed every single month and get a lot of your bills in there. But then you can go in and put in other ones manually that are a little weirder, like our pest control one every 3 months, our car insurance twice a year, Amazon once a year, things like that. And then what'll be nice is it'll kind of clean up your pockets a lot. I have a bunch of pockets because I have a pocket for every single bill as well as every single spending category. So what this will do is kind of consolidate all of that into one bill pocket that is smarter and kind of behind the scenes doing some math to be ready for bills that are coming up on certain days of the month, and then certain, months and dates of the year, depending on if it's annual or not. And it's just going to be smart. So I'm excited about this feature, and I'm going to go kind of through and make sure I'm not missing any bills and stuff like that, but on my own. But it's something definitely worth messing with. And then of course what you can do is go, after you do this, you can go adjust your pockets that you don't need anymore, and you don't need redundancy. And so the way I do my situation right now is I have an autopilot automation that I manually run. You may have seen this in my other video, where I basically have put in what the amount is for 2 weeks worth of all of my categories. And so on the first of the month, I go in and run this long automation that fills my pockets halfway full with everything I need for that month. And then on the 15th, I go and do it again. And so what I'll need to do, and if you've done something like that, you'll need to do this too. Once you've added all your bills into the bill reservoir, is that what it's called? I already forgot. The bill reserve, close. Then you can go take out those pockets and also remove any automations that you don't really need anymore on autopilot that would be filling up and being redundant, be filling up a pocket you don't need to fill up anymore, because bill reserve is going to be doing that for you, and it's going to be ready for your bills coming up. And then your spending pockets that are your more sort of manual, adjustable spending, walking around money, that kind of stuff, that you know when you're spending out of those, and however you decide to fill those pockets, that your bills are covered and you've already kind of pulled money to the side to safely reserve for your bills coming up. So this will be super useful for most people, and especially for new people just getting started. This will be a great start to getting organized with this and having a just much smarter bank account. It's one of the things that I struggled with so much when I used to use like a Chase account as my main checking account, is that it just shows you a big number, and you don't really, unless you have a good to-date spreadsheet that shows you kind of how much your total of all your bills is in a given month, you don't really know how much of that's like spendable money for you. Not to mention things that are more weird intervals of bills every 6 months or 3 months or a year that you don't always account for. And so this is just another reason that those kind of old school bank accounts just don't offer us a ton and don't really help us be more on top of our money. So very excited about this, and in general, I just really like how Crew keeps coming out with features and tinkering with stuff and listening to feedback. If you haven't checked out their Discord, I've popped in there a little bit. I'm not a big Discord person, but what I like is just it's very active. There's people suggesting things, and then a bunch of the folks from Crew are talking about features that they're working on, and you can just actively see updates about what they're working on. So very cool stuff. Excited that it's nice being on a platform that's getting better as you're on it quite quickly. So I'm a fan. Anyway, if you are not already on Crew, you can check out my link in the description. Gives you three months of bonus APR, which is great. It's another thing that's been a big icing on the cake. A lot of people are interested in the features I talk about when I talk to friends in real life and family members. They're interested in the features. But then when you say, oh, you actually earn high yield on all of your stuff and across all your pockets, it doesn't matter if it's a savings pocket or a spending pocket or whatever, that usually gets people pretty excited. The kind of high yield stuff that old school banks just don't seem to really have figured out is a huge help. Let me know any questions you have about bill reserve or anything else about Crew. I'm thinking about doing a video about the way to handle Amazon orders, because that's, it can be a little dicey. I've had a couple people ask me about that, and there's actually a couple ways to do that. So if you'd like to see that video or something else get explained, I'd be glad to do that. So let me know. Take care. Thank y'all.